If there's one thing I've understood about finding yourself and finding happiness and peace, and through healing and your self-discovery, is that you don't need to remember specific parts of your journey in the gruesome details that they once were or what you felt into all of the minor details. I truly believe that even through talk therapy, we don't need to keep going over it and over it and over it. I really do feel that it just holds on to it for a little bit longer, and you may understand it in that moment of talking it through. But what you'll realize is that over time, you'll notice that you're just talking about the same thing over and over and over. And through my journey of healing myself and recognizing who I am and finding me, the truest version of me that was hidden behind all of the hurt and this betrayal, I understand that I didn't need to talk about it, and I didn't need to go over the gruesome details. And I truly, still to this day, don't remember finer details to the things that have happened, but I am safe now, and I am okay, and I am calm, and I am truly happy. And this is why I want to share with you my journey, so that you can begin to find yourself and remember why you're here, and gain this confidence and happiness that I truly longed for. So through this documentary or series, whatever it's going to be, I mean, I'm not an expert on editing, so if you're okay with just watching me, I think you're going to learn a lot and feel through my story that we are just the same. We are just misunderstood souls that was just rejected throughout time, and we had forced these identities on top of ourselves to try and be accepted. And through healing, you realize that you're just taking off all of those identities and coming back to who you truly are now that you accept yourself. Through finding myself, I have overcome grief, self-doubt, uncertainty, rejection, this sadness, this deep, deep sadness and grief that only other misunderstood souls would be able to understand. It is something that you can't even articulate, because loneliness doesn't equal that, because you've got people around you, but you're looking for this home feeling, but you don't have a home to go back to. And not because you don't want the one that you were given, it's just that you were never this person to be able to fit in with those people, the family that you were born into, or the peers that you found yourself surrounded with. It's not that you didn't want them, you absolutely did, but there's just this missing link inside of you. So through that missing link, I had formed all of these insecurities about myself, and I felt a deep, deep rejection of life, not just people, but of life and circumstances, that I truly just didn't fit into this world. And that was probably the hardest thing that I went to, was to try and find myself and how I was actually going to conquer this battle in on this life. I knew that I was here for, at least 60 years if I was lucky, and I didn't want to live a lifetime of being misunderstood and not feeling welcomed and accepted through life. And so the start of all of this was through the link of my brother. The beginning of my journey of finding myself and finding, fulfillment and peace and this self-expression and alignment that led me to this remembrance and to this moment right now of having purpose and value in life, was when my brother got diagnosed with schizophrenia. I didn't realize at the time that he was the person that was going to crack me open and to be my first heartbreak. I also didn't realize that he was going to be the first person that I was going to go through this deep grief with. I didn't realize that we had to grieve people that were still in front of us when they're not the same anymore, but they are still the same at the heart. I feel like a lot of people go through this when they are working through dementia with their parents or friends or loved ones. It's something that only you would understand when you're going through it, of grieving something or someone when they're no longer the same. I also went through this with my second brother when drugs had taken over his system. He fell victim to addiction. My family is just a bag of mixed lollies. I feel like we all just got bummed into this one house, just 5 souls trying to work out life. I mean, my father was really a hard worker. He got on the wrong side of the law as well and ended up in jail, as much as my other brother did as well. So now we had 2 family members in and out of jail. And I had just been facing this whole thing of life of how could somebody like me, so sensitive, so kind, and just on the right side of the law, so much so that doing anything wrong just scared the living bejeebers out of me. And I was faced with this uncertainty and this fear in my body that my parents were going to be taken away from me, and I would be left trying to fetch for myself at the age of 10. And it was just a really scary time to watch, knowing that, my parents were going to get caught at some stage. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. I learned a lot with my family. I learned a lot about addiction and how you can get so sucked into something and following, the shiny thing. Everything always comes to an end, and this is always something that I've gone on to really study and learn, is that there are endings all the time and there are new beginnings, and with any new beginning comes another bout of grief. But as long as you know what you're releasing and why, and what you are stepping into and the purpose behind that, it really does help. The thing that I struggled with the most is that I didn't understand any of this. I didn't understand life. I didn't understand myself. I didn't understand why my brother got schizophrenia. I understood how it happens, but I didn't understand on an energetic, soul, emotional level, like why him. I didn't understand a lot of things, and this is why I went to bridge the gap between mental health and spirituality. I went to bridge the gap between understanding our soul and our spirit and how to live a human experience, one that is aligned to our truest desires and one that is understood. I think I really struggled with understanding why my life was the way that it was. I really didn't understand why I got dished up this. There were a few things that I learned within spirituality because I've always had this connection to myself, this deep inner knowing and feeling inside of me towards people and their intentions and motives. I've always been really strong on picking up on behaviors and why people are doing specific things to me. But I just didn't understand on a soul level as to why. Why did I choose this? I heard this so many times out in society when I was younger, because remember I was going through all of this. Well, it all hit me at probably the age of 14, 15, because the years and the timestamps are so wonky in my mind. But I feel that it doesn't matter of those timelines. All that matters is me understanding them and integrating them in the way that I knew how at the time. But here I was trying to find myself at, say, the age of 14, and my brother is in a hospital specializing in mental health and looking at different antipsychotic medication to help him think straight and to feel good. And we were facing with the doctor telling us that he was never going to be the same again, and I didn't understand what this meant. And so here I was, just cracked open, knowing that my brother was never going to come home the same. That possibly he was going to have to live a life that was going to be extremely hard. One to navigate, and the first hump to get over was what medication was going to work. As I watched my brother fade inside and his eyes become hollow, I watched my parents try and ravel every resource they could to help, as any parent would. And here I was on the sidelines, also cracked open, going through grief, loneliness, rejection, doubt, all of my insecurities. Everything came up of what this meant. I didn't know it at the time, but that moment was going to be the moment that I went on to find myself. For the next 20 years, I dedicated myself to understanding people, brains, psychology, souls, integration, embodiment, how to live a happy life, how to honor our soul, what is purpose, how do we heal our bodies, our mind, our cells, the attachments that we have in other lifetimes. There was just so much that was coming into me that I needed to understand. And in this powerful force that came through me, I didn't understand that I was about to go through a whole load of other just tumbling things, of tribulations and trials to try and find the truest version of me. And as I just kept being cracked open more and more and more with everything that was coming at me, I honestly didn't know how I was going to get through life. I honestly felt from the foundation that I had of being misunderstood and feeling lonely and homesick with no home to go, right? Because I did have a home. We weren't homeless. I did have people around me, but it's not that. You can have people around you and a home, but you could be the loneliest that you've ever felt. Because I didn't understand any of this, I went on to try and find me, but all I did was I just buddied up with different identities. I just became somebody who I wasn't. And it made me feel even more alone, is because now I was being liked and spoken to for somebody who I wasn't. I wasn't able to be myself, because at any moment I was myself, it just wasn't going to reach the mark. And anytime I'd mentioned anything about what I was going through, people didn't understand the depth of the gravity of that pain, and they didn't understand it. They would just slap it with, oh, you'll be okay. Of course I was going to be okay, because otherwise I would be dying. Of course everything's going to turn out. Otherwise you'll give up completely. There was just so many times that people didn't understand what to say, and it's not that I wanted them to tell me the right thing of what to do. I just wanted them to listen. I just wanted love. I just wanted compassion. I just wanted a friend. And whilst everybody felt like I was too much and my life was too much, one by one, everybody started to disappear. And I was left at ground zero to build myself from this moment. So the crack that happened was probably when my parents got busted, and then my brother got schizophrenia. All the while in the background, my other one is addicted to drugs. But that didn't affect me, and I don't know why. I don't think I understood it. I don't think I knew the gravity of what addiction was. I was too young. But I sure as hell knew what the gravity was of my brother having schizophrenia, because it was in front of me. I could see that he was becoming more vacant and fading away little by little by little. And I could see that my parents weren't the people that I needed them to be, which over time I went on to release and to understand. But here I was, just this young girl that was facing a new home, because now the DPP were selling the house. Everything was from criminal activity, so the Crown was taking everything. And so I was this young girl with my brother facing schizophrenia in a home, share housing. I was 15, I think, at this point, 16, 15. I was living alone with my mom in and out, and we had our own fridges with our own food. And it was though I was an adult, but I was a child. The first thing that we do when we are trying to find ourselves and to heal is we start with survival. We make sure that we're safe with a roof over our heads, and that, we've got our time, like within our bed or on the couch or wherever you feel comfy and safe. And as soon as that's done, we start to go and unravel all of these thoughts that have gone on. And that's exactly what I did. I just tried to make sense of everything that was happening, that, years prior, we had this family that I didn't really fit into, but now the family had been completely cracked open. And we were truly just 5 souls trying to figure this life out. And I don't know why my parents had decided what they had done. I mean, I can only imagine why. And everybody can have their own opinions on why. But I guess through life, you don't really know why anybody does anything. Only they know, to the truest of them, of why they do things. And so we can stop speculating with others and stop assuming with others and just focus on ourselves, because that's all we can do. And I guess, when you're so low trying to find yourself, you're not even thinking about anybody else. You're just thinking about you and surviving. And how do we get through this? And how do we find a happy day? And how do we step ahead? Like, what's the next step forward? And I didn't really know what that step was. And I guess, again, this is why the purpose of me doing this series and to help everybody is that I have been through it. It wasn't easy. I got through it. And everything that I learned along the way and everything that I embody today is to help absolutely everyone across the board. And I now know why I had to go through these tribulations and trials to figure out who I was and how to actually find yourself and how to actually heal in a conscious way, without drugs, without any addictions, without alcohol, to push down everything. And I'd seen this through so many different people in life when they're trying to exit their reality because it's too tough, it's too stressful or too hurtful, is they quickly take to something, they get addicted to something, whether it's, shopping or cigarettes or alcohol or drugs or, any kind of mind-altering drug. We see this now in, ceremonies across the world of trying to open up their mind to go and see what's on the other side. And I just feel like, those medicines, as they call them, I just didn't want to go down those routes. It wasn't in me. There was something that I feel like my brother had cracked me open to finally find myself, my soul, and integrate that and go and help the whole world. I truly believe if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing this. Because from him going through that, I have never touched a drug in my life. And this isn't so I can stand up and say, I've never taken drugs, I'm better than you. It was never about anyone else. Nothing about what I did in my life was ever about anyone else. Healing was for me. Everything was for me. I just wanted to feel something. I just wanted to feel seen. I just wanted to be liked. I just wanted to be liked for who I was. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be understood. And through even that journey, it was a bit of a blow, because you find out that people can only understand you as much as they understand themselves. They only can offer you advice as much as they've offered themselves. And this is when I just figured this whole thing out, was through all of these hardships that I went through, but it was from my brother that he showed me. And so I went on this journey to be able to connect the dots between our human and our soul without any form of addiction or drugs or any dabbling in anything. It was almost as if I knew that I came to this planet to help people understand themselves and to heal their bodies and minds and connect back in to the truest of light consciously, without anything of whatever it is, of microdosing, of any kind. It was as if I knew that deep down, because I didn't feel the need to do it, and I still don't at all. I will die not taking anything. I truly believe this is why I came here. And my brother had showed me that, because he took a drug that opened up his psyche, and it skewed everything. That was so very real for him on that day, that then we had the medical institution saying that, all of the levels in his brain are skewed, and they're trying to balance them. They're trying to balance the chemicals so that he can not hear these voices and feel the way that he does. And so I understand it now, this today, as, he was seeing and feeling and sensing all of these things that I do. But I had a way of understanding them and being able to move through them because they weren't blown open in the way that he had experienced from the drug. And so now I was in a position to move through it in such an organic and natural way to figure this whole thing out, all of our emotions, all of this grief. And so yes, it was hard and I wanted answers desperately, but I did them consciously and I did them naturally. And this is how I found myself in this industry of helping thousands of people across the globe, is because I understand. I understand the nature of humanity, of our brains, how we're hardwired, very specific things that we need. I also understand the soul and why it's here and what it wants to share and how to integrate that and how to express that. And I also understand that if these two things are not connected in harmony and in balance with compassion and sacrifice and all of the beauties of life, then we are definitely going to feel lost, alone, sad, misunderstood. And this is where all of the insecurities will come up with rejection and self-doubt, is because of the false identity that we have placed upon ourselves. And now our illusion is false. The perception that we have on life is false, is completely and utterly false. Because you are now thinking and seeing through an identity that is not truest to you. And this is what I'm hoping that you learn from today is you can heal yourself by finding you, by aligning to you. Because my first heartbreak in my life, my brother, showed me the depth of pain and the expansion of your mind and the capabilities of your mind and what it can do. He's also shown me how powerful the brain is and the neural wiring and how that affects our nervous system. And this is why I'm so passionate with bridging the gap between the two and helping you with my journey, helping you with what I've been through and what I've learned. And you're going to see why I am the way that I am, why I heal the way that I heal, why I speak to people the way that I do. Is because I believe in people. I can see the depth of who they are in the way that I wanted people to see the depth in me and understand me. And so I offer that to people now. I offer this understanding to them and the depth that they need to be heard and to be felt and to be understood. I offer that, and that is the beginning of healing, is for someone just to tell you exactly who you are and what's going on in the soul, in the brain, in the mind, in your body. And this is what I learned through finding me, was that it wasn't about anybody else. It wasn't about life. It was about me. It was about understanding me. Because I could travel from country to country. I could go through different friendships. I could go through different conversations with my family. I could try and get them to understand what they did wrong. They would never be able to give me what I can give myself. The understanding and the compassion that I can give myself, to hear myself, to be honest with myself. Nobody can give me that. And you need to understand that too. Life cannot give you what you're needing. Others cannot give you what you're needing. The apology is just not enough. The apology is not for you. Or maybe you think it is. The apology for me was about them just recognizing their behavior so that they can go on and register what they did so they never do it to anybody else. I hope that you've learned something from today, that it is all about bridging the gap. It is all about understanding you and loving you and understanding these tightropes that you've been on and these trials and tribulations that you've been through is all for a greater cause. And I don't want to be one of these people that's like, oh, everything's for a reason. Because yes, it is, but only if you see to it. Because if you don't see it, then there is no reason behind it. The reason is the purpose. So if you don't see the purpose, there's no reason. And my dear brother, I love you so much. And you might not have been able to experience your experience through what you once wished and hoped for. But your love, your wisdom, and your law-abiding ways live through me. Your care for others and how much you love with an open heart will live through me. Because of you, I have a mission to uphold, a one of clarity, a one of a clear conscience to help others heal through the journey that I have been on. And you, my darling brother, have showed me the depth of humanity, where you were left behind, where people misunderstood you. I understood you, and because of you, I now understand me. I now understand why I am the way that I am. And for anyone else that is going through the depth of their life right now, where you are reconstructing your identity, this is the way of the world right now. And I had done this way back when and have dedicated my life to this for the last decade. And it wasn't until I realized just the other day of what I was going to do with my story, I realized that for the last 20 years, I had been finding myself in such a way that I could offer this to the world, not through healings, not through readings, not through any service. But I had something to give, which was me, my energy, my light, my voice, my story to help people heal. And I realized that I had been understanding this for the last 20 years, that this was what it was all for. The pain that I endured, the separation that I incurred with me and myself and my soul and the world, the separation, the disassociation, the homesick, was so that 20 years of this separation can come into full effect of wholeness right now, so that the rest of the world doesn't need to go through this. Because you have my voice, you have my light. I will guide you into knowing yourself, to have purpose and fulfillment, and to have peace and understanding and acceptance for you. And you can leave behind the depth and the sorrow and the suffering and the misunderstanding and the insecurities and the doubt. And you can finally, now in this moment with me, trust you. Trust the journey. Trust the pain that you have to feel at times to move through. Because the major milestones in my life where I can look back of this hurt were the pillars of who I am today. And behind every successful woman, powerful woman, is always somebody that believed in them. And that was my husband, who found me and loved me unconditionally and accepted me. And I believe that that was the bridge. And I'm hoping that if you don't have anyone in your life, I am that person that will see you and believe in you and keep you going until you can see yourself and be able to fly and soar across the skyline and go and achieve what you came here to achieve, because this is not a random occurrence of you being here. My brother's life here was not a random occurrence. Everything that happened was for a reason. For, some people will say for his soul and all of that. But if anything, it was a gift to me. His pain and what he had endured and his suffering is a gift to me, to be able to see of where people are hurting and be able to understand them on just a human level, on a mental health crisis is where I meet them. And not taking it to the extremes of just straight to the soul. Yes, it's the backing and the energy is everything. But we're here right now. This is where we are. We are a tourist on this planet. We are a traveler of the stars. And we have to honor this planet. We have to honor each other. We are here to release thousands of years of this pain that we have been suffering. And whoever that person is that woke you up through whatever that trauma you went through, you're awake now. And you're going to get through this. And you're going to find that purpose. And you're going to finally feel fulfillment and get back into square one of where I anchored into, which is back into the expression, the self-expression, the truest identity that you are, the authenticity, laughing, being a child, being silly, tripping over. You've probably forgotten to laugh in the last week, maybe 2 months, who knows? But I'm hoping that you can take something from today and know that this is the start of your journey of finding you. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, share some love with yourself.